Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to a live stream from Topcon Positioning Systems. I'm joined with some guests today where we're going to talk to you actually about a webinar next week. But first, let's just start and introduce ourselves. My name is Oscar. I'm in the marketing department at Topcon. I'm joined today by my friend, Dr. George Chang, and Jim Preston, also with Topcon, and our good friend Paul Carlson with DCW. We'll expand on who each of us are here in a sec, but we just wanted to slow down and just say thank you for joining this live session. I'm pretty sure, I'm not convinced that today's Friday, could be Tuesday. It all kind of blurs right now. And one of the things that we were just talking about earlier, preparation for you, is where we're all coming from. So I'm talking to you today from Austin, Texas. And if I could ask Dr. Chang, where are you joining us from?
Austin, Texas.
Hey, that's two. All right.
Surprise.
Excellent. Yeah. And Mr. Paul Carlson, where are you today?
Fort Worth, Texas.
All right. All right. And Mr. Preston?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little left out. I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, up in Ohio. That's great.
I'm not a Longhorn. I'm a Buckeye.
Oh, good. Rightfully so. So each of us from our different locations really coming here today to just stop and say hello to everybody and draw your attention to a really important event that's happening next Wednesday, the 29th. So next Wednesday, the 29th, we're going to have a webinar that is going to get into a topic that sounds familiar, but also is going to be new to a lot of you. I'll go ahead and get started with Dr. Chang. Dr. Chang, the webinar next Wednesday is going to be affiliated with ISIC. May I ask, can you tell us who is ISIC and what their goals are?
So, sure. So for decades, I've been working with all sorts of different intelligent technologies for construction to make construction more efficient, more safer. And then just about 4 years ago, we have this idea to create a unique platform for all the different technology scattered around the world to converge, to share technology experience and advance what we're doing in the industry. And that area including sensing technology, data analysis, decision-making, machinery, and system, including software that we'll talk about in this webinar. So due to COVID-19, we have postponed our next year's conference to 2022. So we decided to fill in gap with biannual meetings with webinar. So this will be one of the webinar for us to converge, to connect our members and friends.
Wonderful. So it sounds like we're just getting started, really. There's going to be a whole lot more following after this.
Correct. And we're going to have one webinar every two months.
Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. So, Mr. Carlson, what do you hope to bring or join or contribute, rather, for the webinar next Wednesday?
So the fun piece of what Digital Construction Works does as a digital integrator, if you will, is we look at all of these gaps, all of these disparate pieces out there that don't play well with each other. And so when we talk about the application of BIM and we talk about the goals and missions of what ISIC is doing, we're here to bring those pieces together. And so a lot of what we'll talk about next week is, how these things can be brought together and how we really can achieve BIM in the horizontal construction arena.
Awesome. To expand on that, Paul, you can see from behind me here, I'm really into astronomy and one of the things that happened with NASA, very related to what you just said, back in the 1980s, they were developing shuttle programs. And back for a while, they said, if you're an electrical engineer, you're over there, structural, chemical, everybody was all these compartmentalized places. And work was slow, timelines were difficult to achieve. And then in about the late 80s, a NASA administrator came in and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. I don't care who you are, what team you're on. If you're working on this shuttle, I want you in one building. And I want everybody to be in one building. And by doing that, going to the coffee pot, walking down the hall and talking to people, wait for it, it made things better. It actually streamlined the process. So just simply moving humans around in the 80s made efficient the creation of a shuttle to go into space. There's a strong parallel to what you just mentioned, Paul, with streamlining these workflows and making these bits that may have improved independently to make them streamlined as one. It really can be a good parallel, I think. Yeah. Jim, for the session next Wednesday, what were you hoping to discuss or give us a preview of what you're going to mention in the webinar?
Well, a few of the things that we need to discuss, like Paul had mentioned and George has mentioned, is there's a multitude of different technologies available to the public and to the agencies internationally. And as part of ISIC, I sit on the ISIC Technology Committee. We are able to show these agencies what technologies are available. One of the hurdles that we have is how do we bring that information together? And that's something that George and his societies want to promote. And this is something that Paul promotes as well. How do you bridge those gaps between the technologies? And you'd be amazed the number of people that don't even know the technologies that are available to them.
Right.
So from a TopCon standpoint and from an industry standpoint, this is what we're trying to accomplish with the webinar at hand next week.
So awareness, really, a lot of that is just awareness, just to be that there is a better way. We were just reading yesterday the phrase of, well, that's the way we've always done it, right? We've kind of heard that before. And to be able to at least be aware of different processes specifically for pavement. Dr. Chang, when it's the acronym is ISIC International, what other countries are we working with? Oh, you're muted. If you can hear us, Dr. Chang, you're muted. There you go.
So we started with a very long name 4 years ago. Something too long, you want to forget it. And last year, during our second international conference, so we have a first conference in Minnesota using a long name, and then our second conference was 2019, last year in Beijing, and then we decided to shorten it and make it into a more generic, formal international organization. So ISIC stands for International Society for Intelligent Construction. So that kind of formalize everything. We formalize membership and form 5 different subcommittees, and now we're spreading to all continents.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know I've noticed, I know my colleagues, Paul and Jim, when I've traveled for work at TopCon all over the world for the last many years, you notice a difference of how construction is done in Germany, in Belgium, in France, in Alabama. Right, there's a very stark contrast of how certain countries have adopted technology and rely on it. And I'm glad to hear there's an organization like that where everybody can come together and share ideas. That's fantastic. One of the other ones, just to mention in our live session here, I know with a couple of us in Austin, Texas, I've been reading that Tesla is coming to Austin, Texas with a huge gigafactory. And we have an Apple campus coming to Austin. But the reason I say that is if we think that we know that Tesla's going to build a campus in Austin, but they're going to build it the old way. And if you know anything about Tesla, they're all about efficiency and profitability. And when I think of road construction, specifically pavement, to just do it the old way is not going to get it anymore. With everything going on in our world right now, we need to be able to mill these roads and pave roads with efficiency and time like we've never done before. And the only way we can do that is with available technology. And I think that's what I hope to get out of next Wednesday's webinar myself. The first of many. So,
and Oscar, if I can touch on that,
please, Jim.
As you mentioned, how things are different in China or Germany or the Netherlands or even in Alabama. And this is something that we see because ISIC being an international organization, we have a lot of interface with other countries and how they do things. You and I and Paul and George, we all know that people do things differently with the technology they have at hand. And it brings that communication together and really helps, I think, globally, in my opinion, globally, the whole process. And this is something we want to bring with this BIM for Pavements webinar.
It's a great, I'll tell you, when I first read the title, BIM for Pavements, it drew me in, and I thought, well, I've heard BIM for Pavements, you know what I mean? Like, it just really, it made me tilt my head. So it definitely has my interest, and I know I'm looking forward to it next week, Wednesday. So just to kind of mention about next Wednesday, for the registration. So the registration for it is, you could look at the bottom of the screen, that little short URL there. The registration, I'm very happy to say, when I registered for the webinar, I became a member of the ISIC. So each of you, please, are going to want to go to the ISIC website. We'll start there. So the ISIC website will allow, you're going to want to go there first, click membership, and there you go. You're going to want to go to the ISIC website first, is-ic.org. Go to membership, create a no-cost membership for yourself, stop, then go register for the webinar, also at no cost. And we really, I know you're going to get a lot out of the session next Wednesday, the 29th. So membership, registration, information for next Wednesday. Gentlemen, any closing thoughts you want to mention about next Wednesday?
Can we ask Paul what he feels the workflow is going to be for the webinar? Just a broad scope, so everybody's aware. And a reminder that this is just the first of many webinars. We're really excited, this being the first virtual webinar we've been doing. Normally we do these in person, but there are multiple webinars coming up, as George had stated, every 2 months. A lot of good stuff. I can't say it's, if you're into technology and you're into, go ahead, George.
Yeah, so just to add to that, based on our current registration, we have global audience from all continents. So that's really geared to the global audience. So we have this wonderful 4 members as a speaker to handle the first webinar.
Okay, that's great.
So I think if I can answer your question, I'm sorry, Oscar, if I can answer your question, you know, what are we looking at next week? First, I have to say, now that you gave the NASA example, I have to go back and redo, because we actually were talking about, if you saw the movie Apollo 13, you know, this was something that came to us early on, the scene where they come into the mission control room with a big cardboard box, and he dumps it out on the table and says, fix the spaceship, get our guy. You know, that's kind of what we're looking at, is how do we take all of the pieces we have, all of the different technology, all of the key to this thing is the information. How do we take all of this and turn it into something, while understanding that we're a very siloed industry? Things are broken apart, not only in the technology, but the different people or the different groups working on the projects. So we'll have to go back and make a little tweak there to get the NASA out, now that we've put that out there. But I think the overall format, we have a group of 4 panelists and Dr. Cheng, who are very passionate about what they do. They bring a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different experience to it. And I think the format is going to be more conversational, more consistent with what we're doing here, and really a chance to give good information, share best practices, ideas, concepts, and, you know, how we should be doing things, and what's coming down the road.
Yeah. You know, when I hear you say that, I think of trust, right? That in the 90s and the 2000s, GIS was exploding. And then in the 2000s, BIM explodes. But the pattern is, every about 10, 15 years, you have a new paradigm shift. And what I notice as a pattern is, the technology is introduced, the technology is proven, the technology is trusted. Then it becomes a people challenge, where now it's like, now the technology is defined, now we need people to get used to it. And that's where I think an organization like ISIC can help do all of that. Introduce technology and help people learn about it each step of the way. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, that's was hoping to accomplish. One more time, we can't end without saying next Wednesday, the 29th, please go to the ISIC website. Yeah, there's a registration. The ISIC website to create your membership at no cost. Thank you. And then register for it also on the same page. And really looking forward to talking to each of you, speaking with each of you next Wednesday, the 29th. So all good, guys?
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you.
Yep. See you next Wednesday.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.